All right, what are we watching? What is this? Why am I throwing a plane? What is going on? Hey, Knobtop here, and I wanted to show you I finally got a chance to shoot some video on a legit gimbal. Here it is. It's the Zhiyun Crane Plus. Now, I paid money for this. I bought this. This isn't a paid advertisement. I just wanted to show you not so much this specific gimbal, but I wanted to show you the difference between shooting with a gimbal and shooting without a gimbal. And especially in a case like this where you can see I'm on a boat. So I have a legitimate reason to use this gimbal. I'm standing on a boat, it's super shaky, I'm holding my camera handheld. In fact, this is the camera I'm using. It's a Sony A6500. It has image stabilization on the sensor. It has optical stabilization in this lens. And this lens is an 18-105 Sony lens. And I got it set up with this Joby Gorilla Pod, and I'm holding it like this, and I felt really confident that I'm getting solid shots. I figure my legs will stabilize everything. So I got some shots, as you can see here, and they're not very steady at all. In fact, it looks really shaky. It's something that's amazing that happens. Your body has a natural stabilization, you know, with your eyes and the way your head moves. It makes everything seem like it's really smooth. And when you play back your video from handheld footage, it looks like this. Now I'm moving around the boat trying to get some dynamic shots, and you can see some of these shots turned out pretty good. That one's pretty good. And the one thing that's nice about handheld is you can drop down and get these really, like in this case I got down low and I got a low shot like that. You can't really tell how bumpy the boat is. So that turned out pretty good. But for the majority of the shots, this was not gonna work. And you can see here, like, this looks pretty good, but it's far and few between that I was able to capture shots like this. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let me just show you the Zhiyun Crane Plus. So this is how it comes. It has a little case like this. Hopefully this doesn't all pour out. And it's all packed away in, oh gosh. And it's all packed away like this. Now I would get this out. You can watch video, YouTubers, Atola Visuals and some other YouTubers. They have extensive videos on these gimbal systems. But I wanted to show you guys the difference between shooting handheld and shooting with a gimbal in a very useful atmosphere, standing on a boat. Now there is a benefit to shooting handheld. In this case here, you can see it's not any good. So let's see what would happen if I use image stabilization on this shot. So let's say this is the only footage I have. Let's drop some image stabilization in the editor and see what it looks like. So that's what it looks like stabilized. Not that great. Let's look side by side here. Well, it's gonna crop in like crazy, and it doesn't help at all that my camera goes out of focus, but that's not ideal. So I wouldn't want to depend on my editor stabilizing that footage. But one benefit of shooting handheld is if you're trying to create like a lot of suspense and action and the speed. I know for the actual episode, and the episode you're seeing right here is on Peter Sripol's channel. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the description of this video. And I like this shot. This is one of my favorite shots. And that one I needed to get handheld. So here we are. We're still shooting handheld. I haven't got to the gimbal stuff yet. We're going to see that in a second. I just wanted to show you again this footage right here. This looks pretty good. I was locked on at this point. This is the dual stabilization happening in the A6500. So this is with it stabilized in the editor. And that doesn't look too bad. But you can see a little bit of blur. You see that blur that's happening? And here's the side by side. Look how much zoomed in it had to go. Look at that. The editor had to zoom in so much. We lose so much of the background trying to stabilize this. You can see that it does kind of work, but it's not ideal. Okay, so now we're going to get into it. Let's see the legit comparison. So here we go. Let's launch this airplane and get to it. So here it is, handheld, Joby Gorilla Pod. You can see it. I'm just holding it with my hands, trying to stay as steady as possible. I was sitting down for a while. I'm like, no, this is a little too bumpy. I was committed to it, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to stand up at some point. But this, it looked so steady when I was shooting this. As I'm watching the viewfinder, I'm like, oh, this is looking good. Look how close he's flying the airplane. And it's still just enough where it's just not working good. So now let's see what it looks like. Hand off the gimbal. Look at the size of this thing. This thing's monster. Now I think I had the tripod part still attached to the bottom, and that makes it extra long. Instantly, look at that smoothness. And look, you can see right here, the boat is jumping around and I'm just floating along. Look at that. And you can see here, look at the corner of the boat. See that? That's pretty significant bumps. And in these shots here, so you can see the comparison here. So look at the handheld footage compared to the gimbal footage. And I know, like, obviously it's gimbalized, so of course it's going to be smooth. And I wanted to show this mostly because I don't know where I end up on YouTube, but I always end up just seeing people like run through the streets and following somebody on a skateboard or something. And I'm like, I don't shoot a lot of stuff like that. I've never shot anything like that, actually. But this is a perfect situation. I'm on a moving boat and you can really see the comparison. Check this out, look at that. I'm getting these super zoom shots. And I'm just floating around. And the handheld stuff isn't awful. I'm doing my best to hold it steady, but when it's on the gimbal, I mean, I'm just kind of tracking along. I have so many more shots that I can actually use. And this is the onboard camera, a little GoPro that's mounted on the actual airplane there. But look at that. It's like locked on. I can't stress enough how bumpy it really was in that water. I haven't spent a lot of time on this gimbal. I don't know if it's better than others, but for the time that I used it, it was about 30-minute time frame on the boat. It was relatively easy to set up. I had practiced setting it up when we were on the dock before we got on the boat. The boat wasn't the ideal setup as we were just sitting there and everything's moving around. I'm trying to get this thing balanced in. With all the balancing points, I locked those in when we were set up on the dock, and then I went on the boat and did it. And I was pretty happy with it. I was happy mostly just the fact that I can actually use it. I've not had a reason to use this thing until now. And I have a Pocket Osmo that we use a lot, and the few times we've shot that stuff, it's been nice, but in this case, it wouldn't work because I needed to zoom in on the airplane, and that's where I'm like, okay, I'm going full in. I'm gonna get my big Crane Plus out and gimbalize this footage. Now, like I said, the link to this full episode is in the description of this video. It's over on Peter Sripol's channel. And you can see as I'm using this crane, I'm just being really light with my fingers. I'm just kind of just tapping the zoom. I'm zooming in a little bit. I had it on autofocus. It was just easier for me. The A6500 is pretty amazing with autofocus. And with the bright sunlight like this and stuff, I just didn't want to, I couldn't really see the LCD screen that well. So I was super happy to be able to pick up these shots. Look at that, the jet ski in the background, it's awesome. I got the dog in my way, right? And I'm just being real light with my zoom there. I'm just checking, making sure my framing's good, getting ready. We're gonna do a touchdown. Here we go, Peter's flying the plane. Here we go. Boom, got it. All right, and then it took off. So now for some bonus footage. How do you land a plane on the water? Well, it was multi-purpose out here. I had to catch this thing with a hook. Are you ready for this? I had to catch this thing. Look at this thing. Got this big old pole. Now, if you look really closely, you'll be able to see that there's a little loop at the top of the plane. So I'm just gonna reach out there and grab this thing. So let's see how this goes. All right, we gotta just snag it. Just gotta snag it. It's close, close. I've never done this before, by the way. Here we go. Almost. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, this is a model airplane. This thing's got a giant propeller spinning on the thing, so you gotta kind of be a little careful. Come on, here we go. Here we go. And the wind was just totally blasting the microphones. That's why you're not hearing a lot of audio from this footage here that we're watching. Here we go. Got it. All right. That was awesome.
Woo. Nice catch, Dave. That was pretty good.
How's that feel, man? It's pretty heavy. It's like, what, 25?
I do the full spectrum of stuff while we're on set. I'm filming the airplane. I'm catching it. Brought it in. All right, landed a big one. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Knob Top, go make something.